Hello and welcome back to our online English class. Today we are going to do Lesson C of Unit 10. So go ahead and open your student's book to page 126. Page 126. Okay, so Lesson C, Future Time Clauses. And in this grammar lesson, we are going to focus on clauses with after and before. If you remember from Lesson B, we focused on future real conditionals which use an if clause. The if clause is in simple present tense. Okay? And just like the if clause, we also use the after and before clauses also in the simple present tense. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and play the lesson, and you can watch and we'll discuss afterwards.
Unit 10, Lesson C. Clauses with after and before. Clauses with after and before. Watch and listen. Clauses with after. Use after to introduce adverb clauses to talk about the order of future plans. Use after with a present tense verb to introduce the first event. Use the future tense in the main clause.
After she calls her father, she will visit him.
The first event is call. The second event is visit. Clauses with after. Use a comma when the after clause is at the beginning of the sentence. After plus noun plus simple present, subject plus will, plus the base form of the main verb.
After he goes to the bank, he will get a haircut.
The first event is go to the bank. The second event is get a haircut. Clauses with after. You can also use this order to make sentences with after clauses. Subject plus will plus the base form of the main verb plus after plus noun plus simple present.
He will get a haircut after he goes to the bank.
The first event is go to the bank. The second event is get a haircut.
They will go to a movie after they meet. After they meet, they will go to a movie.
They will have a barbecue after they play soccer. After they play soccer, they will have a barbecue.
He will exercise after he watches TV. After he watches TV, he will exercise.
Check your understanding. Look at the picture. Complete the sentence.
They will go to a movie after they meet. After they meet, they will go to a movie.
They will have a barbecue after they play soccer. After they play soccer, they will have a barbecue.
He will exercise after he watches TV. After he watches TV, he will exercise.
Watch and listen. Clauses with before. Use before to talk about the order of future plans. Use before plus a present tense verb to introduce the second event. Use the future tense in the main clause.
Before she visits her father, she will call him.
The first event is call. The second event is visit. Clauses with before. Use a comma when the before clause is at the beginning of the sentence. Before plus subject plus simple present, subject plus will plus base form of the main verb.
Before he gets a haircut, he will go to the bank.
The first event is go to the bank. The second event is get a haircut. Clauses with before. You can also use this order to make sentences with before clauses. Subject plus will plus base form of the main verb plus before plus subject plus simple present.
He will go to the bank before he gets a haircut.
The first event is go to the bank. The second event is get a haircut.
They will meet before they go to a movie. Before they go to a movie, they will meet.
They will play soccer before they have a barbecue. Before they have a barbecue, they will play soccer.
He will watch TV before he exercises. Before he exercises, he will watch TV.
Check your understanding. Look at the picture. Complete the sentence.
They will meet before they go to a movie. Before they go to a movie, they will meet.
They will play soccer before they have a barbecue. Before they have a barbecue, they will play soccer.
He will watch TV before he exercises. Before he exercises, he will watch TV.
Let's review. Use after and before to introduce adverb clauses to talk about the order of future plans. Use after plus a present tense verb to introduce the first event. Use the future tense in the main clause.
After Kim finishes school, he will take a vacation. Kim will take a vacation after he finishes school.
Use before plus a present tense verb to introduce the second event. Use the future tense in the main clause.
Before Kim takes a vacation, he will finish school. Kim will finish school before he takes a vacation.
The first event is finish school. The second event is take a vacation.
Okay, so now let's look at exercise 2, practice. So go ahead and complete the sentences and use the correct form of the verb. Write 1 above the first event and write 2 above the second event. So let's look at number 1 as an example. Kara will talk to a travel agent before she books a flight. Okay, so as you can see, talk to a travel agent is the first event, so we put 1 here, and then book a flight is the second event, so we put number 2 here. Now, of course, since Kara is third person singular, we need to use she books a flight in the before clause, because this needs to be present tense, simple present tense, because it is the before clause. And the main clause includes the future tense. So to make the future tense, we just use will plus the base verb. So you do not need to use an S here. You don't have to say Kara will talks. After will, we always use the base or original form of the verb. Okay? So go ahead and complete numbers 2 through 10 and then I'm going to play the audio. Okay, so let's go ahead and play the answers, and you can check yours.
Page 126, Exercise 2A. 1.
Kara will talk to a travel agent before she books a flight.
Okay, actually, let me go back.
Before she books a flight.
Okay, now let's do number 2.
2. Before Cynthia leaves for Puerto Rico, she will buy some new clothes.
Okay, so buy some new clothes is number 1, and leaves for Puerto Rico is number 2. Okay, so remember the before clause introduces the second activity. Okay, and then let's keep going.
3.
Donald will take a taxi to the hotel after he picks up his baggage.
Okay, so picks up his baggage is the first activity. As you can see, the after clause introduces the first activity, just like the before clause introduces the second activity. Okay, and then the second activity is takes a taxi to the hotel. Okay, so you can write number 2 over here. Oops.
4. The campers will make a fire before they cook their dinner.
Okay, so the campers will make a fire. So make a fire is the first one, and then cook their dinner is the second one. Okay, let's keep going.
5.
After they finish eating, they will clean up the campsite.
Okay, so after they finish eating, excuse me, so finish eating is the first activity, and then clean up the campsite is the second activity.
6. I will call you after I return from my trip.
Okay, so return from my trip is the first activity, and then call you is the second activity.
7.
After I get my passport, I will make the reservations.
Okay, so get my passport is the first activity, and make the reservations is the second activity.
8. Before we go to Mexico, we will learn some words in Spanish.
Okay, so learn some words in Spanish is the first activity, and go to Mexico is the second activity.
9.
Jack will lock the doors before he leaves for the airport.
Okay, so lock the doors. Oops, sorry about that.
Maria will...
Okay, again. So lock the doors is the first activity, and leaves for the airport is the second activity. Okay, so now number 10, Maria.
print her boarding pass before she goes to the airport.
Okay, so it should be Maria will print her boarding pass before she goes to the airport. So the first activity is print her boarding pass, and the second activity is go to the airport. Okay, so we're gonna go. We're gonna go ahead and go to the next page. Page 127. Page 127. Okay, so let's look at the second activity, exercise B. It says, talk with a partner. Anita is going to the airport. Talk about her plans. Use before or after. Let me zoom in a little more. Okay, so we can see that she checks in first, and then she checks her bag. Okay, so if you look at the example, it says, after Anita checks in, she'll check her bag. Okay, so remember the after clause introduces the first activity. So remember, she checks in first, and then she checks her bag. So after Anita checks in, she'll, which is of course same as she will, she'll check her bag. Okay? And then let's look at these two activities. So first she'll check her bag and then she'll go through security. Okay, so this one's the first one and this one's the second one. So if we make a sentence with these two activities, we can say, before Anita goes through security. So remember, this is the second event because before introduces the second event. So before Anita goes through security, she'll check her bag. That's the first activity. Okay, now I know before and after might still be confusing for many of you. So if you want, you can practice two at a time. So practice these two and then practice these two using the before and after clauses, and then practice these two and then this and this and then these two. So let me show you what I mean. So we already did letter A. After Anita checks in, she'll check her bag. Okay, now use before, but these two. Don't do these two yet. First do numbers 1 and 2. So we already used the after clause. Now let's use the before clause. So we can say before Anita checks her bag, she'll check in. Okay, so do each set of pictures using both the after and before clauses, just so you can get more practice. Okay, so the same thing for this set. We already did the before clause. We said before Anita goes through security, she'll check her bag. We can also say after Anita checks her bag, she'll go through security. You understand? So you can do two sets each and use both the after and before clauses. Okay, so go ahead and take some time to do each set, and you can pause the video and continue when you're finished. Okay, now let's look at numbers 3 and 4. Okay, so you can say, after Anita goes through security, she'll buy a cup of coffee. Or you can say, before Anita buys a cup of coffee, she'll go through security. Okay, so depending on whether you make an after clause or before clause, just remember that the main clause has the future tense. Okay, the main clause is in future tense. Okay, and since Anita is third person singular, make sure to pay attention to the verb. You have to add an S. So let me switch the sentences around. So instead of using the after and before clause in the beginning, remember we can also put the after and before clauses at the end. So here is an example. Anita will go through security after she checks her bags, instead of after Anita checks her bags, she'll go through security. Okay, so I hope you were able to practice both kinds of sentences. So we can say, Anita will buy a cup of coffee after she goes through security. Okay, or Anita will go through security before she buys a cup of coffee. Okay, now let's look at number 4 and number 5. So we can say, Anita will buy a cup of coffee before she checks her messages. Or, Anita will check her messages after she buys a cup of coffee. Okay, and of course you can use the after and before clauses first, but just remember to use a comma after the after and before clause. Okay, now let's look at numbers 5 and 6. Anita will check her messages before she reads a magazine. Or, Anita will read a magazine after she checks her messages. Okay, and then let's look at number 6 and 7. Before Anita gets on the plane, she'll read a magazine. Or, after Anita reads a magazine, she will or she'll get on the plane. And finally, numbers 7 and 8. Anita will turn off her cell phone after she gets on the plane. Okay, or Anita will get on the plane before she turns off her cell phone. Okay? Now you can go ahead and go to part 2 of the video, of the lesson, part 2.